When a good heart meets a hard world, lessons in faith, healing, and rising soft. I recently had the honor of sitting down with Armetrice Green, a God fearing woman, U.S. Army veteran, dedicated transit operator, and above all, a loving mother whose story of rising through pain with a soft heart and fierce faith is changing lives. Armatrice is making the world a better place by reminding us that kindness isn't weakness, that our value isn't defined by others, and that our stories don't end in pain. They continue through healing, growth, and rising with a pure heart. Today, I want to share the powerful insights from our conversation because what Armatrice taught me and what they're teaching countless Black women navigating heartbreak, careers, and motherhood is something we all desperately need to hear. Here's the truth nobody tells you when you're young and hopeful and handing out pieces of your heart like free samples at the grocery store. They don't tell you that loving deeply, caring fiercely, showing up with your whole chest can sometimes leave you feeling like you've lost yourself in the process. They don't tell you that the world will take your softness and call it naivety, that it will take your kindness and mistake it for weakness, that it will take your faith and test it until you're on your knees wondering if God even remembers your name. But here's what Armitrice Green shared with me. And here's what I want you to hold on to today, like your life depends on it. Your story is not about the pain you've experienced, it's about the faith, healing, and strength God has given you to rise above it. Having a good heart in a hard world is still beautiful. And your story is never finished as long as you keep walking forward in faith. Let me say that again for the people in the back, for the sisters who've been carrying everyone else's burdens while their own knees buckle. Your story is never finished as long as you keep walking forward in faith. Now, I know some of you are sitting here thinking, okay, that sounds nice, poetic even, but how? How do I keep a soft heart when the world keeps hardening me? How do I love without losing myself? How do I walk forward when I'm exhausted from just standing still? How do I rest when the world tells me rest is laziness? How do I soften when everything around me demands I stay sharp, stay ready, stay armored? Armatrice and I talked about this deeply, vulnerably, and what emerged were three truths that I believe every Black woman, especially those of us between 38 and 55 who've spent decades in survival mode, need to etch into our hearts. Not just read, not just nod at, but etch, carve, tattoo into the very fabric of who we are. First, kindness and a soft heart are not weaknesses, they are signs of your humanity and your strength. Let me tell you, we live in a culture that glorifies the grind, that celebrates the woman who never cries, never complains, never needs help, the superwoman, the one with the cape. But that cape, it's heavy and it's a lie, a beautiful, dangerous lie that's been killing us slowly for generations. Softness, vulnerability, the ability to feel deeply and love anyway, that takes courage, that takes strength. When you choose kindness in a world that rewards cruelty, when you choose tenderness in a culture that celebrates toughness, you are not weak. You are revolutionary. You are dangerous to a system that profits from your exhaustion. Second, your value is not defined by others, it's rooted in your faith and your identity in God. This one hits different when you've spent years trying to prove your worth, when you've given and given and given, hoping someone would finally see you, validate you, choose you. But here's the thing, God already chose you. Your worth was established long before anyone else showed up, long before the heartbreak, long before the betrayal, long before you started questioning whether you were enough. You are enough because God says you are. Period. No debate, no negotiation, no committee meeting to determine your value. It's already done. And third, your story doesn't end in pain. It continues through healing, growth, and rising with a pure heart. Pain is not your destination, it's a chapter. A hard one, yes, a brutal one sometimes. A chapter that feels like it's going to swallow you whole, but it's not the end. You get to keep writing, you get to keep rising, and you get to do it without bitterness, without hardening, without losing the essence of who you are. You get to rise soft. Now, I want to bring this home with three real life examples of Black women who've embodied these truths, who've risen through pain with faith fueled healing, proving that a good heart not only survives in a hard world, it thrives. Let's talk about Oprah Winfrey. Born into poverty in rural Mississippi, Oprah endured sexual abuse starting at age 9. She ran away at 14. She gave birth to a son who died in infancy. She was fired early in her career. The world tried to break her. The world looked at this little Black girl from Mississippi and said, "You will not make it. You will not rise. You will not matter." But Oprah leaned on faith, therapy, and self love practices. She walked away from toxic environments. She prayed for healing. She channeled her pain into purpose. And in 1986, she launched The Oprah Winfrey Show, which reached 40 million viewers weekly. 40 million people tuning in to watch a Black woman be vulnerable, be soft, be real. In 2007, she founded the Oprah Winfrey Leadership Academy for Girls, transforming lives across the globe. Oprah redefined success for Black women, inspiring millions to heal and rise through faith and authenticity. She proved that rising after heartbreak via faith and self love isn't just possible, it's powerful, it's world changing. Then there's Iyanla Van Zant, a Black author, spiritual teacher, and life coach from Brooklyn. Iyanla survived domestic violence. She survived the murder of her daughter. She survived divorce and financial ruin. She gave too much emotionally and spiritually, and it nearly destroyed her. She poured herself out until there was nothing left. And then she had to learn how to fill herself back up at back. But Iyanla embraced faith, forgiveness, and what she calls doing the work. She prayed. She went to therapy. She walked away from harm. She rebuilt by trusting God over vengeance. She published Acts of Faith in 1993, which hit the New York Times bestseller list. After bankruptcy, after losing everything, she revived her career on the OWN network, hosting Iyanla, Fix My Life, helping thousands heal. Iyanla empowered Black communities to view softness and tears as strength, normalizing faith led recovery from pain. She echoes Armetrice's lessons on faith, carrying you through low moments, walking away to heal, and rising with a pure heart despite mistakes, despite the mess, despite the world telling you that you should be ashamed. And we cannot talk about rising through pain without mentioning Maya Angelou, the legendary Black poet and civil rights activist from Stamps, Arkansas, was raped at age 7 and went mute for 5 years. 5 years, imagine that. A child so traumatized that she lost her voice. She faced racial discrimination and single motherhood, yet she drew on faith, literature, and community. She learned that kindness isn't weakness. She prayed through pain. She rose by loving herself as God does. Maya penned I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings, the first nonfiction bestseller by a Black woman. She published 36 books. She recited at President Clinton's 1993 inauguration with On the Pulse of Morning. She earned the Presidential Medal of Freedom. Maya inspired generations of Black women to heal from abuse, embrace vulnerability, and rise, proving that stories continue beyond pain, that even when the world silences you, you can reclaim your voice. You can sing again. These women like Armetrice Green show us it's possible. They show us that faith isn't passive, it's active. It's choosing to walk away from what drains you. It's praying when you don't have the words. It's trusting God even when the path is unclear. It's waking up every single day and deciding that your softness is not a liability, it's a legacy. So here's what I want you to do differently after today. This week, I want you to identify one thing that's draining your heart, one relationship, one obligation, one pattern that's stealing your peace. And I want you to walk away from it prayerfully, not with anger, not with bitterness, but with faith. Trust that God will move in the space you create. Trust that protecting your peace is not selfish, it's sacred. Trust that saying no is a complete sentence. Trust that rest is not a reward for productivity, it's a human right. Because here's what Armetrice reminded me and what I want to leave you with today. We've spent so long in survival mode, leading teams, raising families, holding down households, carrying communities, that we've forgotten what it feels like to just breathe, to just be, to just rest without guilt or explanation. We've forgotten that we are human beings, not human doings. We've forgotten that our worth is not tied to our output. We've forgotten that God didn't create us to be machines. God created us to be whole, to be soft, to be loved. The soft girl era isn't about giving up, it's about giving yourself permission, permission to rest, permission to say no, permission to prioritize your joy, your peace, your healing. It's about shifting from constantly grinding to finally grounding in faith, in softness, in self love. It's about remembering that you are not here to survive, you are here to thrive. And I know some of you are thinking, but I can't just walk away. I have responsibilities, I have people depending on me, and I hear you. But let me ask you this: how much longer can you pour from an empty cup? How much longer can you carry everyone else while your own knees buckle? How much longer can you survive instead of thrive? How much longer are you going to let the world convince you that your exhaustion is noble, that your burnout is a badge of honor, that your pain is the price of being strong? Armatrice's story, Oprah's story, Iyanla's story, Maya's story, they all teach us the same lesson. You can love deeply without losing yourself. You can be kind without being taken advantage of. You can have a soft heart in a hard world and still rise, still heal, still win, still matter, still change the world. Your value is not up for debate. It's not determined by how much you do, how much you give, how much you sacrifice. It's rooted in who you are in God's eyes. And in God's eyes, you are worthy. You are loved. You are enough. You are more than enough. You are everything. So today, I want you to feel understood in your pain. I want you to feel empowered in your healing. And I want you to feel hopeful for your rise. Because your story, your beautiful, messy, faith filled story is not over. It's just beginning. And the next chapter, it's going to be written in softness, in rest, in joy, in peace, in faith, in love. It's going to be written by a woman who finally chose herself, not out of burnout, but out of reverence, out of love, out of faith. Here's my challenge to you, and I want you to take this seriously. I want you to go home today and do something radical. I want you to look in the mirror and say out loud, I am not required to carry what God did not assign to me. Say it again: I am not required to carry what God did not assign to me. And then I want you to put down one thing, one responsibility, one burden, one expectation that's been crushing you, just one. And I want you to trust that God will handle it. I want you to trust that the world will not fall apart without you holding it together. I want you to trust that your rest is not a betrayal, it's a revolution. This is the soft girl era, the sacred space where strong Black women unlearn survival, rediscover softness, and reclaim the joy, rest, and freedom they deserve without guilt, without apology, and without explanation. This is where we stop performing strength and start embodying peace. This is where we stop proving our worth and start resting in it. This is where we stop surviving and start living. Thank you, Armetrice Green, for reminding us that a good heart in a hard world is still beautiful. Thank you for showing us that our stories keep going forward in faith. And thank you for giving us permission to finally rest. Now, I want you to go out there and be dangerously soft, be radically kind, be unapologetically rested, be faithfully whole, be the woman who chose herself and changed the world by doing it, because that's exactly who you are. That's exactly who you've always been. And it's time the world saw it too.